Nice. We always end up, I think we're getting to the point, because we've done about almost 50 of these now, that we're starting to like merge and morph our data. So we're vibing, is what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's funny. Well, okay. Although you say we're vibing, I will admit that because we're doing this over the internet, there's just enough delay that it's like we have to vibe almost before it happens. Like we can't be as quite in the moment vibe. It has to be like a look across the internet of, how did our conversation before we started, how did it affect us?
A look across the East Blue, because we're still
look across the East Blue. Yeah, to see how something else affects us. Right. Yeah, well, what's affecting us? What across the East Blue affects us, Eric?
I mean, plenty, because you're on this guided tour of the East Blue, going to our main destination of the Grand Line, because we are clunky, but also we are the Grand Line Tourist.
The Grand Line Tourist.
A chapter by chapter, examining or re-examining of Ichiro Oda's masterpiece, One Piece.
Masterpiece.
The manga. The beloved manga. I am Eric Boo, your guys' tour guide. I'm here to kind of guide you all through this journey, along with guiding my partner in crime and Groupon frequenter across the internet, the tourist himself. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
I am Jacob Jarecki. I have been on so many escape rooms, so many breweries. I've even gone to stand-up paddleboarding. If it's on Groupon, you can bet I have done it, and to the chagrin of many a shop owner.
And escape rooms together, but then I realized how bad of an idea that is. It wouldn't work out.
There's like there's a breathalyzer, and you can't get through the door until it reads a certain height. That would work.
Also, I don't know, people under the influence of alcohol probably will not be able to do well in their escape room, and there's probably a lot of cleaning up. It wouldn't be worth it.
Oh yeah, well that was the main problem, is you do have to do cleaning up, and drunk people are just going to be less nice to your rooms.
Yeah, it's not worth it. It's not worth it.
So, yeah, there's going to be a grog-based one-piece escape room designed by yours truly and Eric over there. We're going to make it happen. It's going to work.
And one of the puzzles require you to stretch, so figure it out.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, I like that idea a lot. How can we do that? We're going to have to figure... We just gum fruit. We'll just put some in the room.
Oh, yeah.
Why was I even
Eat it and forever not be able to swim. For some of us, that's already a reality, because I know there's a few people out there who don't know how to swim.
You can swim, right?
Oh, yeah, I can swim.
Oh, okay. No, I can swim too. Just making sure. No.
Oh, yeah, but there's a lot of people.
I would have been like, Eric, I'm coming over there to teach you. I'm like, you cannot be a marine biologist on this, podcast as a tour guide and not know how to swim.
Look, the ocean calls to me despite my inability to swim. Should we just, without further ado, should we just jump into the itinerary? Should I just kind of read through this sucker?
Yeah. I scrawled this little piece on a napkin, and I.
Oh, thank you.
Crumpled it up.
Oh, I'm glad to know that the tourist, this tour guide, is giving me notes about my itinerary.
That's right.
Could you imagine?
Sometimes
we just we pre-send it out to the tourists, and if the tourists have any suggestions that they want to adjust to the itinerary, then we'll go ahead and do it. All right. The man's name. The one who destroyed Craigsada.
What's our chapter?
His name.
What chapter? It's on the napkin. Look at the napkin.
Oh my goodness. Sorry. This is chapter 49. Storm. The storm. The storm. The storm.
Someone's got a favorite accent, and I know what it is.
Oh yeah, I love that accent because it's so far away from me. The man's name who destroyed Craigsada is Hawkeye. Dun dun dun. At least that's what Steph says, because obviously his name is Hawkeye. His eyes look that way. People keep talking about it. That has to be his name. Why not just name yourself after your most prevalent quality, physical quality? He's the only person with Hawkeyes that can mess up that many ships that fast. Usopp and Luffy don't know who that is, obviously, because they're little, country islanders who are isolated in their thing.
That?
But surprisingly, Zorro knows who he is, because that's the man Zorro has been looking for. And we actually got this fun little foreshadow way before. Not really a foreshadow, just like a exposition dump from Johnny earlier, because Johnny did mention to Zorro way back when they saved Johnny and, what was his name? Yosaku, I think? Or Yosaki?
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, from
Yosaku.
From Scurvy. He mentioned that, hey man, a lot of people eat at the Baratier, including your boy with the Hawkeyes. So this is the man that's always been after, probably because he has something to do with swordsmanship.
Whoa,
Anyways,
man, dang it, Eric! I don't think of anything. My brain doesn't do work sometimes. No, just that makes sense that he would be looking for someone that's swordsmanship related. But I had not even occurred to me. Continue. Sorry.
yes. So we're gonna keep going. So Zolo's looking for him and all that good all that good idea. But at the same time, all the cooks there are like, oh, we don't know a Hawkeye guy. We don't know a Hawkeye person. We know like a Red Eye guy, but that's because that guy
Red
drinks.
eyes.
And when he drinks,
Drink
his eyes get
wine.
red. So instantly, Zolo goes, "Oh, can't be the same guy." Which is strange. That's kind of a weird thing. We'll talk about it when we get into the discussion. That's a very interesting thing that they kind of threw in there. That misdirection for whatever reason. At that point, let me see. I'm kind of losing myself here. Oh, Sanji asks Jin, "Why would this Hawkeye person attack your ship? Why would he attack your armada?" And Jin goes, "I don't know. I don't know why he attacked." And Zeph goes, "Well, you probably just interrupted his sleep, like his napping." And Jin goes, Don't disrespect my boys like that. We died. Why would he attack us for something so stupid?" And at their point, establishing another thing in the Grand Line of, well, things just happened there. Things happen there. Strong people exist, and if they're annoyed at you, they attack you. Because the Grand Line seems to have no laws. There are no laws there. No one's gonna go and protect you or anything. So it could be something that small, or it could be that he was threatened by your thing. Regardless,
Someone's maritime law degree is not going to come in handy over in the Grand Line.
No, that's why I quit. Because I saw the fallacy of maritime law. I see you.
Ooh.
Right? See, I'm my own law drama on the side. I'm Ally McBeal. I'm Boston legal. I'm all of it on the sea. I am maritime legal practice. Got it. There we go. I closed it all out. All the ABC law dramas I put together in one small swoop. So yeah, that's the thing. And Luffy and Zolo seem to be excited about the idea of anything can happen on the Grand Line, right? The possibilities of that. Usopp's a little more logical but the danger, guys. The danger there is intense. Sanji throws a little bit of judgment there, saying that, going there for your dumb things, you're gonna die. You're a fool for going there just to die for your dream. But Zolo has this really kind of prophetic, like poetic sort of moment where he's like, well, you could call, like, going there, you're not wrong about us going there to die. Whatever, but you don't get to judge us for that, because I have made my decision to be the greatest swordsman in the world. What innately comes in with death. You can't be the best, because if you're the best, then eventually you're not going to be the best, and the way you're not the best is you die or you lose, and usually losing is dying. So he knows what he's supposed to do. He knows that either he'll die in this pursuit or he'll achieve the greatest swordsmanship, and eventually he will have to die, because you just can't stay the greatest forever. That's
calling card.
Yeah. That's what it is, right? But he is saying right here to Sanji that, but you personally do not have the right to judge me for wanting to pursue that, because I have my reasons, and you don't know what those reasons are. So you can stay in your little judgmental bubble over there, but you don't get to voice it, sort of deal. Which is a fun little moment that we'll definitely discuss as we go on. We go back to the Krieg pirates, and they're all eating, they're all enjoying themselves, and they're ready, and they're getting Popeye powered, like, we're ready to fight, and all this stuff. And then Krieg mentions that we're about to steal this ship, you guys are all full now, we're steal this ship, and we're gonna go back to the Grand Line. And then some of the pirates are like, what? Why are we going back, bro? We almost died. And then, Krieg has only one thing to say to that. What's he say, Jacob?
He says, well, I can provide certain death for you as well. Bam!
Bam! Yeah, exactly. So either die by me, or you go with me and we die over there. That's cool. That's how you build loyalty. So yeah, and then all of a sudden that one death is like enough for the Krieg pirates to be like, yeah, we're in it now. Let's do it. So he's like, okay, let's raid this ship. Everybody on the Baratie is like, okay, we're ready to fight. Let's go. We're ready to get into a fighting stance. They get ready to fight. And then right as the Krieg pirates jump off this ship to attack the Baratie, all of a sudden, slice. The Krieg flagship is cut in half. Just cut in half. And everybody's like shocked, like, what the heck is happening? Everyone is shocked. They stopped. And they're like, it's what do they call it? They had a term for it that was weird.
Well, they said it was listing.
Listing, yeah.
Just to probe a tiny question there. Was it actually cut in half? it's a big spread. I'll leave it. We'll talk a little bit more about it after we get through the itinerary.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a lot going on in that spread. It's
so essentially that the flagship gets attacked and it goes and Usopp and Usopp and Zolo are freaking out because they're telling Luffy like, oh my god, if that's happening to that ship, like our ship is close by and Nami and our bounty bros are on that ship, so we need to go check. So they run to go check and the bounty bros are fine. They come in, they're like, brothers, we're okay, but Sister Nami stole the merry-go and left with all the treasure. And all that stuff. So that happens. A lot of exposition at the end of this chapter. That's all happening. And at the end, Zeph looks down. Zeph sees a silhouette coming from the distance, coming over slowly. Just a man on a boat floating towards us. And Zeph goes, "That's him. That's Hawkeye.
That's him.
And he's here."
Dang.
A lot. It doesn't feel like
happens.
a lot happened in these pages, but a lot of exposition kind of happened.
Yeah, no, this one was exciting. I like this one.
Yeah.
And I think we may have just to get it out there. We can't tell exactly for certain yet because we haven't really fought those pirates yet. They were coming to fight us, the chefs, right? And they kind of, things happened, but it did look like it was just normal food that they were eating.
Yes.
It looked like Chef Zepp. I thought he was, I still stand by potentially there was some, maybe something in there that was trying to take away the fighting advantage. Yeah, I was thinking there were poison, that Chef Zepp would do something smart with his, like he was going to be some middle ground between Sanji's, like, we feed people, and he's like, well, we feed them, but we feed them a little bit of tranquilizers as well. And then they all come all groggily, and then we, round them up or something.
Right.
Still could happen, but it's not looking as good,
looking hot,
considering that eating scene. So I just wanted to bear my shame early.
They also recovered real quick, right? To like fighting level. But it's manga logic. That happens all the time. I mean, Popeye used to eat spinach and beat people up. So
there we go.
Right.
And they were really going at the food. Originally, I thought maybe that I had this funny image of Kree kind of like going around with a spoon and kind of like feeding one pirate, and then they get a little stronger. No, they just smelled it. They got up and started groveling towards it and
exactly
ate it all up.
I think the big thing to talk about here, because we didn't get a chance to talk about it last chapter, is what are your opinions and feelings towards Hawkeye so far? This Hawkeye person.
Yeah, it's I am intrigued because it's probably like the greatest jump in power levels so far.
Yeah, that's
if we're like, oftentimes we'll hear about a new character that can do something, right? And you're like, oh, okay, it's going to be some power that like someone will have to face off with another power. It's going to be an interesting fight. I guess Krieg is even a good example, right? We just kind of see how he works. We see some new power he has, and we're kind of like, okay, but this power of potentially being able to take down fleets with the look of an eye is another level, so to speak. Mm-hmm. Like, we can imagine Luffy combining some number of gum attacks to do something similar, but that's something we'd have to work towards, right? That's like a multi-page setup of like how Luffy's going to have to do it and whatnot. We're talking about just somebody who seems to give a look and destroy fleets, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's something different. So it does provide a very interesting terror, especially when you combine it with those spreads of things happening. Even in last chapter, it wasn't a full page spread like in this one, or not a double page spread. It was still like this world bending ability, right? So yeah,
it's fun to see this thing because a big part of like, I think seafaring in general is like the tall tales that come with the adventures, and Jin, the way Jin built it up is like, this is what this man did. He came, he destroyed 50 ships, almost touched our big ship, and if it wasn't for a storm, we would have been we would have died. Essentially. Yeah. And it's kind of cool to see, like, that's a tall tale. We're like, wow, that's something that can happen in the future. And now it's here. Like, it happened right here. We talked about it, too, a little bit, which is like, I don't know why he added this panel of the misdirect.
Yeah, no, it's, the interesting thing that the misdirect does is it does let Zorro kind of speak to Johnny not being reliable.
Okay.
Because we have Zorro that says, that's Sea Snake. He lied to me, when he's thinking about Johnny. But at the same time, it's not super strong because we don't actually know that Johnny lied. Like, he might have just got confused, because he just heard red eyes and, explosions, after something, fiery eyes, right? And he just got confused. But either way, maybe it's maybe it's more of a joke than anything, right? Like,
right.
Maybe it was to establish we'd had too long before Hawkeye was mentioned in regards to Zorro.
Yeah.
And so maybe Oda just wanted to remind us that, like, Zorro is after Hawkeye. He's after this person. And he didn't want to wait so long to do it. And so he was like, well, but I don't want... maybe it doesn't make sense that Hawkeye actually would be on the Baratier. So he's like, I need a reason just to bring it up. Oh, this is funny. I can do this wine joke. But we'll see. I didn't know yet. Maybe we'll see Red Eyes as well later on.
Yeah, who knows, right? At this point. But yeah, I mean, I just want to talk briefly on Hawkeye, because I'm sure we'll see a lot more of in the future chapters. I mean, I know for sure.
I heard there's a movie coming out.
Not for this guy. Oh,
like for a different
guy. No, he had a show.
Oh, he had a show. Well,
he had a show about him robbing banks in Boston with Ben Affleck, with Batman.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that movie's called The Town, you fool.
Oh my goodness. Oh, no. I gotcha. Oh man, your references to Boston accents are becoming too much for me.
Oh yeah. Jeremy Renner also apparently plays blues. He plays blues piano a little bit, I think. So he has I think he has an album that we should probably definitely check out, because, like, why not? We're in it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, so let me talk about the big topic in this one, which seems to be the only really big philosophical thing here, which is pursuing your dreams even to death. Right?
Yes.
And that seems that, like, it was a small little aside that was inserted into this thing here. Because we get a little bit of Zorro character building, who, surprise, surprise, all of a sudden is here. And it ties a little bit to Sanji, too, I think. Specifically because Sanji is judging that idea. Right? The idea of, like, why would you pursue something that you know that's going to kill you? Like, there's no point in that. Right?
Yes.
And it's interesting because Zorro has this really cool rebuke and just kind of like, look, man, I've decided this is what I'm gonna do. I know that that's an outcome, probably an inedible outcome that's gonna happen. Like, I'm gonna have to die eventually, but everybody's gonna have to die eventually. But I'd rather doing it for my reasons and all that stuff.
Just to dive into that really quick, because it happens to be what I picked for my little translation today. Just that scene. I might as well go ahead and read out both versions of it. So the original, you're fools. You both will be killed as soon as you get there. Zorro. True enough, but don't insult us. The day I decided to be the world's greatest swordsman, I gave myself up for dead. Nobody calls me a fool but me. I have my reasons. And then, slightly different translation. Man, you guys are stupid. You're the kind that heads straight to your own death. Zorro, in response, you may be right about that, but calling me stupid is a bit too far. I've been throwing my life away ever since the moment I decided to be the world's greatest swordsman. The only person with the right to call me stupid is myself. So, it's basically revealing the same nuances, but slightly different wordplay there. I particularly like, in the other translation, the start of it, where Sanji kind of directly says, you're the kind that heads straight to your own death. Like, that's the reason that I think you're stupid. But no, it's very good. And you're right, that sentiment's very interesting. And I actually kind of came up with a small term for that sentiment, because I was really thinking about it. And I said, what does it mean to go to the Grand Line? Because that's what we've been doing for a long time now, right?
Yeah.
And I actually kind of have started to think about going to the Grand Line as literally meaning giving your life up in pursuit of something,
Ooh.
And that can be different for different
Pursuit
people.
of
Like,
ambition, right?
Yeah, like, so
the
Luffy's...
Grand Line is a metaphor for your ambition. Yeah.
Yeah. So Luffy's going to the Grand Line literally because that's his ambition. It's related to being pirates,
Yeah.
But, maybe Zorro becoming the greatest swordsman, that's his going to the Grand Line,
Yeah.
That's what he gave up his life in pursuit of something. And maybe that is a beautiful thing to do, is kind of maybe what Oda is trying to deep down get across, is to really go for something. You got to be willing to give up your life to do it in that pursuit. So that little side, just how you noted it, it definitely got me as well. I was like reading that and I was like, nah, something's being said here,
Yeah, and so here's a fun thought that I kind of got when we were talking about chapter 48. And in this chapter, I think that Sanji is kind of like this opinion that he has, and he's said it before, because I think he said it before to somebody else about, like, he's obviously not happy here, right? He's not happy at the Gratier anymore, but he's gonna fight for it. He's kind of a fun little, like, some of the toxic side of a found home, of being attached to a place, right? And we had those people. We went to school with people in high school who were like, why would you try hard? Like, why would you go? You're being a try hard. Or why would you pursue that thing? You know, the realists, as they call themselves, the ones who are grounded and think, or even the ones who are like very not as ambitious, right? They're always going to be people in life who are always that side of it. Sanji right now is that representation, and that might be like a side effect of being so attached to a place, right? Being so attached to a place where he is like, I don't want to leave the Piratier, like wherever my ambitions were, like that's too far and too scary for me, and I'm gonna stick here. And in fact, is leading to me to even judge people who think like that.
No, that's interesting. I didn't latch on to that like potential reflexivity that like, ooh, well, I can't stand the thought of somebody actually going for it, you know,
Yeah.
and that's why I'm a little bit jaded. That'll be interesting. If that pays off with what we learn about Sanji later, I'll be like, ooh, Eric, nice read
Yeah,
there.
because he's just so like with this moment and before, he's like Oda's going out of his way to make Sanji say these things, right? To say these things, because even Luffy, again, an agent of change, wherever he shows up, he'll always ask the very simple but very deep questions of like, why are you staying? And Sanji's like, I have my reasons. Well, what are your reasons? I don't need to tell you, right? Like, that's not an answer, man. Like, you have your things, and you have these things, and it's interesting to see, because even, like, we have it reinforced in the earlier chapters, Zeph's like, you should go. Go. I don't need you here. I've never said I needed you here. And then he throws him into a desk, throws him into a table. I said you can go, right?
Leave!
And it's fun for him to have this
be your
reaction.
own man, son.
Yes. Right? And it's cool to see him have this reaction right now to Zolo saying his thing right now, which is Luffy and Zolo are excited about what you have put so eloquently, is like, our ambition is represented by the Grand Line. We can find that there, right? I can find the greatest swordsman in the world in the Grand Line, because anything can literally happen there. Luffy is a lot more obvious. The One Piece is in the Grand Line. I have to go. That's my ambition.
Yeah.
Right? Usopp is the other side of it, of like, oh, come on, guys, we could die. Which is great.
Usopp is going to be a great insurance agent one day. He just hasn't realized that's what he needs to do.
So, and then now I want to kind of bring our big deep talk part of this conversation here, which is the pursuit of your ambition to this degree, like at the Luffy's, I said Zuffy, the Luffy Zolo level, is that admirable or is that stupid? Is there a combination? Like, where do you kind of sit on that?
I think I probably changed over the years. I probably used to think that you want to be always going to the Grand Line. You should be going to the Grand Line. Nowadays, I think there's some part of me that still agrees with that, but it's hard also not to know that, like, I think the attempt of going for the Grand Line is more important than, like, actually getting there.
Yeah.
And so there is a lot, I think I'm talking around it metaphorically too much. Basically, trying to achieve your dreams, I think, is very admirable, but also knowing that, not every dream, it's not that it's not achievable, but not everything is, like, destined for every person. And so I do think I've probably thrown in a little bit more of this idea of fully put your heart out into whatever you're going for and enjoy it at the same time. You know, don't let that ambition destroy the journey. You know what I mean? Is kind of maybe where I try to land a little bit these days. You know, if it doesn't seem like, everything is building towards that ambition in the way you want it to, you don't necessarily in that moment need to triple down on ambition and just like push everything in your life further away to get there. It's fine to, make changes, decide what you need in that moment, and then continue on finding whatever the Grand Line is for you then. Maybe it'll change, But I still definitely appreciate this idea. I think it's very, very alluring, right? You know, it's kind of what we're, what we lock kids into maybe a little too much when we say, what do you want to be when you grow up?
I really like what you
think?
kind of brought up here, which is the idea of, like, ambition seems to be something for young people, right? We want to make sure young people have ambition, and we don't want them to be Sanji, right? We don't want them to look at something and be like, well, that's dumb for pursuing that. Because I think kind of maybe the overall one of the bigger themes of One Piece is like the pursuit of your ambition is kind of the gift in itself. It's not the end, right? It's not like the goal isn't to be the greatest swordsman in the world. The goal is to kind of experience everything along the way to get there, because that is life, right? Life should be a series of ambitions that you chase and feel and get to, and because that's living. That's how you get to live and all that fun stuff. And I think it's so funny because this is an ideal that's very American too, but we kind of pick and choose when we apply that stuff. But the big one that I kind of got as a metaphor was like athletes. I think athletes at a very young age, in America especially, we really treasure athletes. And we kind of give them a lot of, like, if you have ambitions to be a very good athlete, most people are good. Most people are happy to back you up and support you in that endeavor. Especially if they see you do it, right? And we get those stories all the time. Michael Jordan. The other day I was watching a little bit about Doc Rivers, who is a coach now. Coached the Clippers for a long time and all that stuff. But he kind of had that story of, like, when he was young, he said he was going to be a pro ball player, right? But that's the thing. And, you know, also athletes are kind of... Being an athlete has a number of different things in America, but it's also one of the few avenues people of color in this country have a way to break out of their like demographic locations, the economic situations and stuff like that too, right? So it's one of those things. But like that's an example of what we're kind of talking about here, is like someone pursuing their ambition or pursuing their goal to death, like being a pro ball player. Like they will do it to the point where if an injury happens in college or in high school, like their life, because it was so one-tracked, is completely derailed to a place where they have to spend so many years trying to pick themselves back up.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I almost wish there was a slightly different tale, because I wish it wasn't only what do you want to be when you grow up or what do you want to accomplish. It was more like, I wish there was a different question to ask kids. Like you're right, because you want to foster that ambition. I think the important thing is maybe something that I can relate to as what has changed for me maybe is that at some level it's hard to keep believing that you can accomplish your dreams a little bit, like in a weird way, like especially when they're big, you know. And maybe that's the problem, is that we're pushed with this ambition to have big dreams, right? Like, and there's nothing wrong with big dreams, but there's some mixture of how does ambition, like the dark side of that is like I'm only satisfied if I actually achieve it, sort of thing.
Right, exactly.
But like the beauty is being able to strive for what it is, right? You're striving for being in the NBA as a ball player,
right?
Is just a beautiful thing to do, you know. Regardless of whether or not you achieve it, to be honest.
And I think... So this is where I think this is very different from like how Americans think about it. Like ambition is great, but it gets kind of toxic depending on what region you're in. If you're in like sports and stuff, there are some like good fun things that they can like teach you. Oh, like sports teaches you character and all that stuff, right? But I think with the Japanese specifically, and I've seen it in a multiple like animes and mangas and stuff, is like the pursuit is more emphasized. Like when I was learning, and this is a really dumb thing, but when I was learning how to play Street Fighter, right? Street Fighter, I was reading up on that stuff. One of the best Street Fighter players, his name is Daigo, right? Daigo, he played Street Fighter for a long time, since like Street Fighter 2 and all that stuff. And he's probably like, I don't know, late 30s, 40s and stuff. But he wrote a book because he won a lot, and he wrote a book, obviously. And one of the greatest things that he wrote in his book was that training and working hard at fighting games isn't about winning, right? Tournaments and going to tournaments and winning tournaments are just more examples. They are reaping the fruits of your hard work, right? They are a representation of your training and how much time you dedicated to it. It's not like you don't train to win. You win because you trained. And that is that's what you should be proud of, not your winnings and stuff like that.
Yeah, you know what, like, so the Street Fighter example makes me think of a particular community also in the video game realm that's always intrigued me, which is speedrunners.
Speedrunning, yeah. I was going to mention speedrunners, yeah.
They're going for something that is like at the level of human achievement that's very hard to accomplish. It's very hard to be the best at that sort of thing. People will come and dethrone you, but there's no, it doesn't have the monetary gain that a lot of other like more, so it has like a bit of like a purity that like beating somebody in tournaments for money quite doesn't have.
Right.
Like, to be the best player at like a Wii golf and to like have it be to have the fastest time in the world is in a way like I think just like such a pure expression of going for something, going for that grand line, and maybe you're not gonna have that record forever, but it is just something about that striving that is really pure in that instance, and like it's tough in life to it's tough in life to separate what you want from just what you're doing, like how like striving, like your day-to-day striving and living is what your life mostly consists of. The breaking the record day, if it ever comes, the accomplishing the goal day, if that ever comes, that's not most of the life, even for the people that do it consistently, and so it's like I wish I was wiser in this, and hopefully One Piece will help us, but it's something to work on. It's something that's tough to wrap our heads around, probably especially as Americans that were fed this for a long time.
Oh, yeah. Because I also think, like, as Americans, I think we get that a lot for sports. I think the sports community and the sports culture in this country is gigantic and strong. Like, just look at the stadiums that we keep building for these $1 million teams, right? But then when you shift and you talk about, like, artists, that's one where if you're like pursuing art in any capacity, fine or performing, that's where you get a little bit more pushback from people like, well, that's dumb, right? Like that.
No, and I think it's tied up in the monetary stuff, right? It's tied up in people's ideas of success, the way we just view different professions in this world. It's very strange because, to be honest, they're quite similar. Like, to be really good at art and to be really good at speedrunning and to be really good at a sport, they require a similar striving, I mean, not the same, but it's hard to, it's odd that we group them in different ways.
Yeah, and I just want to point out too, just to kind of put the fun little bow at the end of this conversation, is that you and I started this podcast with the idea of literally going on this One Piece journey, like piece by piece, and seeing how it affects you and me along the way, starting from two different focal points of this story. One, you completely new, no idea, not even like very little dabbing into this world of like Japanese culture, manga and art essentially. And then for me, someone who's like baptized in it from a young age, and it's fun to gotta go because it's the journey. If our goal was to be the next Critical Role or to be the next Daily or the next This American Life, like for podcasting, then we probably would have attacked it differently, and we'd probably be a lot more depressed or quit. Or we probably would have quit because, again, one piece that you're trying to do is like whatever your grand line is, it's okay to go there and at least try and pursue it. Right? You shouldn't be scared to go to the grand line, but also at the same time, be like Zeph. If a year's enough, come back.
Yeah,
it's okay.
No, wise words from I loved how you said baptized there, from our manga priest or our manga monk. I don't know if you got. I don't know. There's probably a word just like baptism.
I have at this point. I have many postgraduate degrees that I'll never finish. So.
I know it's great. The list keeps growing, and you know what? Just you seem to know a lot about the ocean and a lot about seafaring and whatnot. So I'm sure you'll be able to satisfy what I'm calling a nautical nugget. Do you know what listing means, Eric? What is listing?
That's probably when you go to Craigslist and you put on stuff that you kind of want to just sell. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're just listing it, right?
Yeah.
It's just like the boat.
That's what that pirate was telling Krieg at that point. Captain, it's listing. It's listing so hard.
Put it on Craigslist fast before it loses all value. Well, just to fill in a possible other definition of it, it's a nautical term to describe when a vessel takes on water and tilts to one side.
Okay, and then I have to ask you, that's obvious because it is. I feel like it's cut in half. Look at the way that ship is split.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting picture. It's so I feel like the page break though is partially the reason it's cutting in half.
Oh, see, you don't have a full page spread. Can I share? You know what? I don't want to. Yeah, because.
We'll get it later. We'll take a look. But yeah, I have it in because I'm reading it in the paperback in the volumes. So I kind of have the page break in the middle, and maybe without the page break, you can see a little bit more that it's a direct split. Is I think what you're kind of getting at to me. But But no, I just wanted to share that there. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But yeah, that's what listing means. You can list to the port or to the starboard side, and then there's a whole nother term for if you tip forwards and backwards. That's trimming. If so,
I feel like they're wrapping up the nautical term, so I'm glad we're gonna keep this nautical nugget.
Yeah,
is the term
nautical
of
nugget.
this new segment.
Whenever it comes up, and yeah, we got nuggets. They're better than dino nuggets.
I feel like before we move on to the next thing,
yeah,
I just want to ask you real quick. What do you think about Nami dipping?
Thank you for bringing that up. I almost missed it. This also leads into a little bit of tinfoil time. I think she's not running away with that treasure. She ran away to save the treasure, Eric. It was going to get destroyed, and she was like, I don't know when I'm not going to be able to find you again really easily. So that's why I don't know when I'll see you again. Good luck. Wave my hand. I'm saving the treasure.
Is that Charlie Proof?
But it's our treasure. Now, as much as I say that, I feel like I'm just being bamboozled by Nami in the way people have been in the past, and that she's actually running away with the treasure is a possibility, but I wanted to throw that out there as well. And this is an interesting, I don't want to say that it's her character deprogressing. We kind of thought she'd been past this, but maybe this is now going to be more, maybe she's going into running joke territory. I'm not sure. I feel like there's a heart of Nami that is going to shine through, even if she does ultimately run away with this treasure with the intention of taking it. There's something shining. I don't know. Maybe she's saving up to go to college. I don't know. There's something here. There's something.
That's the
going
one.
On.
That's the
Don't
one you need to
prediction
put
down.
all your tinfoils on, right?
No, I'm putting. She ran away to save the treasure. That's the one my tinfoil is stacking
put it
up
on
on.
put it on the college. She's saving to go to college. That's
We
a
haven't
very
seen many.
That's a very American reference to those who aren't American, because going to college here in America is terrible and expensive.
Cost some moolah. Cost some berries. That's what we're saying
It costs the
here.
down payment of a very nice house, depending on what part of the country you live in. If you live on the West Coast, though, then it's just an apartment.
Yeah, you're not getting the full thing. So,
Yeah.
so with that said, I don't have too much more to say about it. I think we'll kind of wait and see on that. I'm ready to play. I'm ready to go to a place where anything can happen because I've got goosebumps, Eric.
Goosebumps. That's my
my
theme.
first.
I don't know why I did that.
That's my first OP got jokes. I like the fact that Luffy is excited about going to the place where all these bad things could potentially happen to him. He's just like, yeah, let's go.
I love that. And then Usopp is the only one who was like, guys, think of the danger. I think it's a fun little payoff to all of that. I also like, same thing, I like Luffy and Usopp piggybacking off of Zolo's coolness at the end of it. It's like, oh yeah, we're like that too. We don't judge us for our pursuits. We're like, yeah, say.
Yeah, just like that guy. We're going for the Grand Line just as hard as him.
And I also like how Zolo is poking Usopp with the butt of his sword again. Like, yeah, this guy too, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, no. It's very good. And, poking someone with the butt of the sword, that reminds me a bit of walloping someone with the hilt of your sword. And that's very similar to unsheathing your sword and just straight up attacking somebody, which is what we do here in the panel battle.
Doom, 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 doom.
We take the sharpest edge panels. For me, I just rip the page out of my book. Eric prints it, and then we try to give each other really bad paper cuts. It's rough. It gets down and dirty. Who knows how many scratches we're going to have at the end of this section, but we're taking our favorite panels, pitting them against each other, and, as my friend across the internet likes to say, it doesn't have to be 1v1.
Nope.
We're not even doing 1v1. There's no limit. There's no Super Smash 4-player.
No, this is a battle royale of panels, is what we're trying to say, right?
Oh.
You come in,
Yes.
you do your dumb Fortnite dances, you do a little weird stuff, and then you throw panels at each other instead of shooting each other. That's what we're just saying.
Yeah, and then the selection of possible panels shrinks every couple minutes, and then at the end, we're left with the best panel. And you can, send in panels ahead of time so we can include them in the section. Send them in after if you don't like what we picked at grandlinetourist@gmail.com.
That email address is nameapod.
grandlinetourist at gmail.com. Alrighty. You know what? You had your first firing last time. I'm cutting in here.
Do it. Throw it at me.
It's coming. It may sound like I'm running down a dark hallway, but I am not. I am merely pasting my panel into the chat. There it is. What do you think of this panel?
Ooh, everybody's so hungry. Okay, this is a panel of all the Creek pirates eating, and we got some munch, and some folks. There's a lot of action happening here. Some chomps. So we see a guy right in the foreground of the panel, stuffing his face nice and big for us with an oversized hand. Great. A guy bleeding on the other side of that foreground, holding a piece of bread. Some dudes in the back drinking out of a barrel of water and probably some grog, some beer, a guy crying, eating, great, perfect. I love it. Just to kind of reinforce like the how hungry they were, and he's like crying from this moment of being saved. Essentially, there's so much happening on this panel overall. Some apples on the floor, some bread, some cheese. I can see some cheese there. Yeah, this is a great panel.
Oh yeah, no, I loved how dense with detail it was, and how it really just gives you this desperate look in these, starving pirates. So much depth. It has that person, like you said, all the way to the right. Just the depth, especially the fact that hand is huge and it's stuffed into the face, and in the very background we see like the people in the barrels drinking their drinks. It's great.
It's like each panel is supposed to invoke a feeling, right? Sometimes they're just meant to do some exposition and just move this plot along, but this one, it's starvation. Right? Like, you see this is like being saved out of starvation, the relief. It's like relief. You're feeling it. You can see, you can feel them. You can enjoy their eating. It's the same reason why...
Whenever I eat, I want to have that feeling.
I want to have this feeling.
Whatever they're feeling. Yeah, like, oh, yes, I'm going to live.
Yeah.
This is the best food I've ever tasted.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and throw mine up.
I'm ready. I'm ready to hit it with that baseball bat and become Babe Ruth in my ambition to be the greatest sports player ever.
Oh yeah, there we go.
Drugs?
Greatest
Did he do
sports
steroids?
player ever.
I don't know. I feel like I'm making some bad. Oh my goodness! This is the full page panel that we were talking about. The double spread in my manga physically.
Mm-hmm.
And now we can really talk about, like, what do we see here? We see on the left, we have crash, we have boom on the right, we have triple exclamation mark followed by question mark. We have the Baratier in the lower left. We have the Krieg pirate ship behind it. And yes, I think I must admit, it is clearly being split. Yeah, like I don't think there's any way for it not to see it split. In the 2-page spread, it's a little harder to see. I was just thinking it might be like a weird vortex that we kind of had seen in the other chapter.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this does not look good for the flagship of Krieg Armada.
I love what you said earlier about how we're seeing the biggest jump in power level with this Hawkeye person. And this panel, a panel to just show off his power, like, right off the bat. Right? And it's a surprise. Like, the page before is just the pirates coming to attack, right?
Yeah.
And then, like, everybody's like, okay, this is a battle, we're ready to clash. And they jump, and then all of a sudden, a freaking, like, brakes are hit, and it's the weight, the impact of this attack. Look, the waves are moving, right? The Baratier is like twisting. You can feel the impact of the waves. It's disaster. Disaster just hit.
No, I feel like describing this as listing is a little bit, you're underselling it, right? Captain, it's listing. That's when you want to go to your captain and you want to say, like, okay, our ship's done. We're dead. It's sinking. But you don't want him to be mad at you.
Yeah.
So you're like, yeah, we're taking on a little bit of water. And you're like, no. The ship's done.
Yeah.
Okay, we're dead.
This guy is going straight to the bottom. There's nothing happening here. It's scary because after this happens, the rest of the reaction is like fear. And it is stuff like, oh my God, is Nami and them okay, right? Like, are they okay? Because it is those thoughts. After you see this, it's like anything out there is gone.
No, and it's really cool because, like you said, the waves are moving, but it almost looks like the ship is moving like the waves, which ships shouldn't do. You know what I mean? They shouldn't be wiggling and rippling like that. And oh man,
because it takes a huge amount of force, like wave force, to move a giant ship like the Baratier.
I'm getting these vibes that, like, Hawkeye, I don't feel like it's just another gum creature. I'm thinking, like, mythical legend of the sea. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah. Isn't that... But, like, this is the fun part about One Piece, is that he gets to do these things where you go, like, we're reading a manga about guys who break apart, who stretch. What could he possibly do to make you wonder more? And this is, like, one of those panels, like, oh my God, what is this person? Whew. Yeah, man.
Very well chosen. I like both our panels today.
I know.
Mine's clearly the more serious, devastating one, though. Starving people coming back to life.
I love,
and
I
you
love
know what?
the feelings evoked by it.
I feel like starving people coming back to life is a great sort of onomatopoeia to end, you know? Like, we're going to go from death to chewing to brilliant vibrancy, ready to pursue whatever grand line we want to approach.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Okay. Yes. Yes. I'm ready. I'm ready to fight. I am starving Arnold.